Girl, Susie Jennings going through my mind. Sarah Jess and Julie too.
Where the white women at? It's the Reviewanew podcast. And we've got a very special guest from the YouTube channel For Harriet with us to discuss this very special movie today. White Chicks. Jesus Christ. Wow. I'm just gonna start off by introducing my very special guest, Kimberly. Let the lovely people know who you are, where they can get your stuff, you know, because you got great stuff, so I want to let them know, you know, where they can find your stuff at.
Yeah, so my name is Kimberly Foster. I am a cultural critic and pop culture commentator, and I run a YouTube channel and website and digital community called For Harriet. And For Harriet, the mission, it is centered in Black feminist politics. It's analyzing basically everything about the world through a Black feminist lens. I thought that that's kind of what's missing from a lot of what we're hearing. And so it's everything. It's politics, it's pop culture, it's reality TV, it's, I don't know, just anything that I consume. Mm-hmm. Like, that is just the space that I'm coming from. So it's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's everywhere. And I'm personally Kimberly N. Foster, N as in Nicole, on all of the platforms.
For sure. On all the Instagrams and the Twitters and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my first question, well, I don't even know if it'll be the first question. I just thought about this after, so basically this is the last movie. This is the last stop on the Wayans Brothers train before I go on to another filmographer's films. And, you know, throughout watching it, I've kind of grown a bit of a ranking system for the Wayans Brothers that I always kind of felt like growing up, like, you you have that sort of thing, like, man, which one is like the funniest one, which one is the best one, and I want to throw a list at you, and I want to hear how you feel about it, okay? So, for the top 5 Wayans Brothers is Damon at number 1, Marlon at number 2, Keenan Ivory at number 3, Kim at number 4, and Sean at number 5. Tell me what you think
Absolutely about that. Not. Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
What?
Okay.
Marlon as number 2? Absolutely not.
Wait, okay.
No. Damon, it's between Damon and Keenan as number 1 and 2. I think Keenan Ivory Wayans, his influence and what he has done in Hollywood, especially for around like Black content, is really undersung. We're talking
You're right.
We're talking in Living Color. We're talking, like so many. Like, I mean, he directed this movie, which is not a good thing on his resume or whatever, but like when we're talking that's the knock. But we're talking late 80s, early 90s, like Keenan's influence, he opened the door for all this shit. Like, so I mean, we wouldn't have J-Lo, like, okay, like, come on now. So
okay, I see you there. I was thinking purely in terms of like, having you're right in terms of like the influence, but I was thinking in terms of like enjoying their performances movie to movie wise.
I mean, I don't think any of them.
Yeah, there is that like Keenan Ivory Wayans is a director, and so there's a lot more going there. But I just thought of it in terms of like Damon, to me, always felt like the breakout star of the group.
Yes. Okay.
That kind of, you know what I'm saying? Yes, like, should have been a bigger leading man, but we know how the 90s was. Like that sort of thing.
Yes. Okay, I'm with you there, but I definitely I'm still not putting Marlon at number 2.
Yeah, okay, see, and I will defend myself on that one, because personally, I always thought Marlon was like that wacky, like, breakout star who didn't really get his due. Like, it felt like, to me, like, if he had gotten more chances, he could have been, like, the Black Jim Carrey of the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But, like, he didn't really get his funny man comedy role, and so what ended up happening is that, because like when you see a performance like Don't Be a Menace, like, oh my god, this guy definitely should have like been doing more fun wacky stuff. But then you see a movie like this and you're like, oh yeah, because his comedy is kind of base and doesn't really go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? There's those knocks.
He got 4 scary movies. I think that we are really pushing it when we are talking about potential. I think we saw it. I've seen it. And we don't really need to stretch it that much. And I also think comparing him to Jim Carrey is insulting. I did feel like when I was watching, and I guess we'll get into it, like there was definitely some Eddie Murphy influence, like absolutely some Jim Carrey influence, but the brilliance,
oh no, it's definitely derivative.
And I think Kim is an incredible actor, like Pariah, good. I think she's underrated. Even her work on In Living Color, so good and interesting. I think that she got short shrift because she's the woman in this family, and people don't think women are.
That's the only reason why I would say, because you just didn't get as much stuff to do.
Yeah. People don't think women are funny or interesting or charismatic. I definitely do agree, though, with Sean at the bottom. I think that's a good.
That's mainly what I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up because I don't know about you, but especially when watching the Wayans Brothers show, it was always like, he has to be the cool ladies man guy character, so he can't joke too much on him. And Marlon was always like no, he's the guy that's allowed to be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sean is the fine one.
And with Kim, I remember, do you ever see the movie Joanna Man?
I have seen that movie, yeah.
She is in that movie in a very small role, and I remember being so annoyed that I was just you see her for a minute, and you're just like, why is she not one of the main characters hanging out? You know what I'm saying? She gets 5 lines in the movie, you know?
Yeah, I don't know about Kara. I don't really care if Kim Wayans has a bigger part in Joanna Man, but I think I agree with you that her talents are so underutilized. She needs to be cast in more stuff. I think she is so versatile. The versatility is really remarkable. She's just great. She's great.
Mm-hmm.
It is really representative of what happens to really great dynamic Black women. I think she's lucky that she's had access to these men who are able to give her roles and stuff. Because if she didn't, she would end up like a lot of other super talented Black actresses and just not being shit. But still,
I was just talking to someone about Deborah Wilson last week.
Yes,
one of the breakout stars of Mad TV.
Yeah.
It's funny that, but saying Joanna Man though, it's interesting that that specific movie is brought up in this conversation because I watched that movie recently and I think it's at least fucking better than this.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it wouldn't be difficult for that movie to be better than this movie.
It's one of those surprising things where you're just like, wow. I remember having, even as a kid or teenager, my qualms with Joanna Man, but going back to White Chicks, this is my mouth was goddamn agape watching this movie.
Yeah, it was quite.
Just how.
Yeah, it's bad. It's extremely, extremely bad. But also, when I went back and was doing research on this, because I can't help but research, very popular.
Mm-hmm.
A very popular film. Did great
at the
box
remember,
office.
Mm-hmm, because it was off the heels of Scary Movie 2. So, people wanted to know what they were going to do next,
Yeah.
And when you see them go from, Scary Movie, which is, satire, parody, they're making fun, they're really sending up these, films that have gotten really popular as of late, but, these guys are seeing through the tropes of them, and then, I remember it being the thing of, the pretty white socialite, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, these pop culture people of the zeitgeist who, they're not really famous for anything, so they could use a good sending up, but they do nothing with the material that isn't beyond the most baseline jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's
yeah, I have trouble.
It's incredible.
I have trouble with this because I definitely acknowledge that I can be snobby and elitist in what I find compelling. And so I have to check myself and I'm like, am I bringing that lens to this? Obviously, some
I see
people,
what you're saying.
Yeah, some people are into it. I don't like the bottom of the barrel, even though that is a pejorative. I don't like that kind of just humor. And I just thought, even though I don't like this genre, I thought the way that it was even executed was just poor. It just was not interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just so cheaply done. The generic trappings of what the plot is so like awkwardly and obviously cheaply done that it's just like you're only left to see like the bad comedy that's springing forth from it, and you're just like, okay, this isn't even worth the trip, and it's not even worth the journey. You know, like it's not worth anything that's happening in this movie. So if you want to get right into it, let's get right into it.
Okay.
So, just at the very start, right, I want to say something. You know, the Wayans Brothers have always had, you know, especially when it comes to music, they've kind of had their finger on the pulse of kind of what's going on in terms of, like, where music is, right? Like, you know, in the late 80s, you had I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. You know, they had the homage to the 70s stuff, but it's kind of like, oh, but this is what 80s hip-hop sounds like, you know? And then in the 90s, they kind of brought that same thing with Don't Be a Menace to South Central. You know, they got the fucking Wu-Tang Clan and fucking, you know, Pimp C and Bun B on tracks and shit like that. Like, whoa, that's really showing you what the 90s is, you know what I'm saying? And you go into the 2000s, and I'm like, you know, it's interesting. They start this movie with, like, this Spanish rap song. I'm thinking, hey, you know, reggaeton was kind of, like, becoming a thing in, like, 2004. Like, that was, like, a mainstay. You know, you couldn't ignore it around then, right? So I'm thinking, like, watching this movie, like, oh, this is really cool. They're, like, starting this off, you know, keeping that tradition of, like, you know, the Wayans Brothers being at the head of what's going on in terms of, like, you know, the cultural zeitgeist and what's really popping out there. Smash cut to this awkward, barely trying brown face.
Yeah.
Am I lying?
No, I think, and that, like I said, I
just couldn't believe it.
I tried to come to this with an open mind. I really did. I've never seen this movie before, so
oh no!
I tried to come to it with an open mind, and the fact that our opening scene is a heavy dose of very poorly done racial stereotypes, it was really difficult for me to hold on. It was so hard.
I would not be mad at you if you just came to me today and were just like, I just stopped the movie after that point.
Yeah, it was rough.
Oh my goodness. And, you know, and of course, immediately I'm thinking like, okay, you know, the premise of the movie is, oh, these black guys are going to be dressed as white women, and they're going to be doing things that black guys would do, but they're being white girls while doing it. That's not how that's supposed to go. Like, you know, that's the whole conceit. Mm-hmm. And it's so basically done, like, when the actual plot rolls out. But just the fact that they start off with this completely insensitive betrayal, with Marlon Wayans coming out in this fucking comically goddamn Cheech and Chong mustache. Yeah. Basically just singing song lyrics from famous Spanish songs he knows, you know, in front of this, like, what they presume to be, you know, Cuban drug lords or whatever, delivering, you know, what they're codenaming as ice cream, but what's supposed to be cocaine. And, like, not only is it just kind of insensitive on his face, but, like, I'm the type of person who's like, okay, I understand that was, like, you know, done for that reason, but you're trying to get a laugh. It's a comedy movie, whatever. But then it's just like, it doesn't even work within the premise of what you're doing, because there are these, the idea is that Sean and Marlon Wayans are these two undercover cops who are trying to foil a drug smuggling ring. But in doing so, they're just doing these over-the-top caricatures of Latino people in front of these Latino drug dealers. Like, that just wouldn't work on its face. Like, that's just such a stupidly over-the-top thing in a way that shows that they're obviously not thinking about even, like, basic things like how this plot would work out. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep. I think...
It's just...
So, I will say...
Oh, go on.
I can see that they were trying. You know, like, they're trying really hard. Like, the prosthetics were not horrible. They were pretty good. But that's when I felt like I felt the Eddie Murphy influence. I feel like the Jim Carrey influence of them trying to like show off their versatility and like we can do different characters and watch us do this.
Yep.
It's just offensive. It's offensive. It's not compelling. It's not subversive. It is just like the most basic racist thing that you can put out there to get a cheap laugh.
It basically felt like, you know, okay, this is a subgenre in comedy, right? The funny man dressed as a woman trope, right? Like, we saw it with Robin Williams, we saw it with Martin Lawrence, we saw it with Eddie Murphy, but their spin on it is to be like, but they're white girls.
Yeah.
Oh man, you didn't see that
Right.
coming. Oh, those Wayans Brothers,
Yeah.
you know. But they barely fucking try. Like, in terms of plot as well as in terms of when you get into, you know, what's actually going on. So, you know, the very first scene, like I said, it starts off with this awkward, barely trying brown face. Marlon Wayans, as someone who I will come into this podcast, I put him at number 2 because, you know, he was the funny man, kind of like Kel character to me. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like the Kenan and Kel character, but like he was actually allowed to do more in the 90s. You know, I'm not alone on this, right? Like you kind of wish Kel had done more funny man shit in the 90s. You know, what did he get? Like Mystery, the Mystery Men, and the Kenan and Kel show. You know what I'm saying?
I'm really not super up on my Kel Mitchell. I mean, I did see Mystery Men, but I was really young.
You don't need
when
to
that
be.
Came out, like 8 or something, really super young, and I didn't really watch all of that. I mean, I was like under 10, so I don't really super remember it, but I remember him being talented, I think. But I do understand what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Oh no, I'm totally speaking about my bias right now. Like the idea of like, I really like this black funny man comedy guy, Marlon Wayans. You know what I'm saying? I like that kind of guy. And then it's just like, but then he does this movie, and it's like, God damn it, you know. And so like, I see him running around being all wacky and shit, and it's like, I understand this is the only forum you get to do something like this, but it's just like, you're not even fucking trying. Like, the whole shtick is just him doing song lyrics of fucking, you know, Selena and fucking a Santana song or something like that. Like, that's the whole bit. And like, maybe if it had been like they're confronting like white drug lords, that maybe they're Latino, they're Latino drug lords. Maybe these white guys don't know how Latino dudes act. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there could be that like, they don't know that they're acting weird like that, so it makes sense. But it's like, you're literally in front of these Latino dudes, like, it just looks like you're insulting them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's basic. It's very basic.
There's not even like he kind of speaks Spanish. No, he's just singing song lyrics. Like, if it was a white guy doing this, like, this would be completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like, the fact that this kind of happens at the beginning kind of brings things into sharp relief. Like, it's just like, this totally wouldn't be okay if a white guy was doing this. And, you know, it's not exactly the same if you flipped, like, a white guy pretending to be a black woman, as we saw, and or maybe didn't fucking see in what was that movie that came out, like, either this year or last year? There was some movie about like a white radio host pretending to be a black woman.
I don't know, it's like LaQuisha or something like that.
Yeah.
Stereotypical name.
Oh yeah, you know, the whole fucking motivation for why they're doing what they're doing, right? The idea is that, these are, rogue cops. It's this fucking trope, right? Again, going into these movies, we saw it with Big Mama's House, but it's done so ridiculously here that you're just like, this has to be a parody, but it's not smart enough or silly enough to be a parody. That's what it feels like at the end of the day. It feels like it's supposed to be this parody of these types of, guy pretending to be a woman movies, but it's just so basic that it's like, you guys aren't trying. This is just fucking stupid. This is just bottom of the barrel shit. Basically, the whole motivation, the flimsy ass motivation for why they did and are doing what they do is because, like, we're gonna be hero cops at the end of the day, right? Like, we're going rogue and doing all we're doing because we're gonna be heroes, and if we just subvert and go against what the chief of police tells us, then eventually the chief will recognize just how good we are and promote us, which, maybe in general, people don't want to hear any sort of narratives about how, these two cops are going a little against the grain.
Right.
But, they get the job done.
Yeah, so but I think what is really interesting is, you mentioned about how common this trope is, and I think something, not to be too political at this point, but I think something that is really interesting to, look back and review is, how many cop narratives there are in all kinds of entertainment, from comedy to drama to musicals, etc. Cops are the people that we want to root for. They're the underdog. They're how we make black people accessible, how we humanize black people in these roles. And so now, 31-year-old Kimberly, I can look at that and be like, oh, we have some more pro-cop propaganda. Obviously it's poorly made pro-cop propaganda, but again, making them being these scruffy FBI agents and these scrappy FBI agents, and all they want to do, they just want to do their
FBI agents.
Give them a shot, just let them do it, and they're actually heroes. It's propaganda for us to be like, oh yeah, FBI, you're good.
And you know what's the funny thing about it is, they foil the fucking mission.
Yeah.
So it's literally proof within the movie that no, they probably shouldn't continue doing this because they fuck it up.
Right? They're bad. They're actually bad at their jobs.
Yeah, the thing goes wrong, the wrong guys come in, and they barely even try to get any fucking intel. I don't know how they got in charge of this place. Who did they contact to be like, hey, don't come to your bodega today, I'm gonna be taking over, and because there's apparently a cocaine shipment coming in. I don't know how they did that shit, but okay, whatever. They're in the store, and the actual ice cream men come in and give them the ice cream, and they're like, oh no. Then after this whole thing happens where they rough up these normal civilians. Yeah. Probably fucking, immigrants in Florida just trying to fucking make their way. Right. When you think about it. That's actually what I was originally thinking about, actually, yeah, so when the scene happens where they go oh, we're FBI, don't fucking run, and oh, he's gonna run, and then he starts running, the first thing I was thinking is, when it gets revealed that, oh, it was actually those other guys that were the drug dealers, I was thinking, hey, maybe this guy is just a fucking, immigrant who doesn't want any fucking problems with the police. Right? And so it's just wow, you just harassed this guy.
Yeah, police brutality is hilarious.
Yeah, that's basically what the scene kind of unfolds as when you think about it. But it's funny though, because that Sean and Marlon, So yeah, Jesus Christ. So we go from that to God damn it. So we get the next scene where the chief of police comes in, and it's the guy from you ever seen that movie Down to Earth with Chris Rock?
Not in 15 years.
That was one of those big movies me and my sister used to watch a lot. So yeah, the manager from that movie for Chris Rock is the chief of police, and I cannot for the life of me remember what the fuck that guy's name is, but he's a really big black actor. I see him in a lot of fucking movies. So basically he's disappointed, and these two guys saying oh, you messed up the drug deal, and come in tomorrow, I'm gonna have your badge, the typical chief of police stuff. In the middle of it, he gets a phone call. In the middle of it, Marlon gets a phone call from his shrewish, nagging girlfriend. Right. And oh my god, again, the tropes are so fucking basic. She calls him, she calls Marlon, and she's talking to him, why doesn't she just understand that he's having a hard day at work, and he hangs up on her. Then all of a sudden the chief of police gets a call, and it's Marlon's girlfriend still calling. This woman just doesn't understand that maybe you shouldn't interrupt your boyfriend when he's doing fucking FBI work.
Right. She has nothing to do. So, all she has to do is check up on her boyfriend and be jealous. Yep.
Again, you'd think this was a fucking parody, but it's not smart enough.
Yeah, very, very basic,
Oh
very
my
stereotypical depiction of women, like, all throughout the movie, but the girlfriend, and, like, when he's explaining, like, it's only 8 o'clock, I left at 7:40, and I was like, oh my god, you guys, like, come on now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, they have the little cheap dig in, of course, where it's like, oh, baby, if I did this and did this at that time, I'd only have 2 minutes. Like, oh, what, you know, you think I could cheat on you in 2 minutes? And, you know, she gives him, like, the sideways glance, you know, and it's like, oh, that got him. But it's just like, nah, but seriously, though, why are you making the girlfriend this, like, unreasonably nagging woman? Like, why, you know?
Because it's easy. Because we're not doing interesting or new or innovative in this film. We're just getting it out there.
Yeah, we're doing the basic tropes, but we're doing it so bare bones that that's what's supposed to be funny about it. That's what it feels like, you know?
Yeah, and honestly, I have to admit that, like, I am sure that there are people for whom this is the funniest shit. Like, I'm sure that if I tweeted about this, people will be like, White Chicks is my favorite movie.
Well, see, and this is how I feel about it. Like, there are funny moments in it, but those moments are purely because of, like, the actor at the time being able to flip a funny scene real quick. You know, it's like, it's nothing that in any way justifies this whole movie. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so going into it, we get what the plot is, right? So the Wilsons are the heiresses to, you know, this really rich company, and they have to the FBI are trying to, you know, get them to their place on time because there's been some rumors that they're going to get kidnapped, or there's some sort of evidence that they're going to get kidnapped or something like that. I don't know why a kidnapper would give you evidence ahead of time that they were going to kidnap you, but whatever the fuck,
right.
We need the plot to happen. So, okay, they have evidence that someone's gonna get kidnapped, but who wants to babysit for these two spoiled chicks? You know, and Sean is the headstrong brother. He's like, oh, well, you know, I think the police should forgive the fact that we beat up 3 guys who had nothing to do with the situation.
Right.
And should let us be on another case. So they barge in the room, and they're like, you know, Chief, you should take us seriously. And, you know, the chief looks at them and says, oh, they're a little bit of dramatic irony here. They didn't see what was going on beforehand, that no one wanted this case. So you guys are on this case now, and it's a case about just having to babysit these 2 girls. So, yeah, that's the contrivance to get where we need to get. And then we get the actual Paris Hilton stand-ins themselves, and I'm even disappointed with these girls. Like, even on the realm of, like, these girls are supposed to be the parody of these type of girls. Because, you know, I'm a little ashamed to admit, but look, fuck it, I was young. I was on the IMDb boards, you know, when people were talking about the Paris Hilton, how can you be rich and just be famous and not do anything? And blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying?
But that was
like,
popular opinion at the time. Like, that's okay. Like, Everybody felt that way.
Exactly. You know, so it's kind of like, ooh, these girls are gonna get taken down a notch. And it's like, they barely even do that, you know, like... It's like the 2 girls, like, it's such the, like, over the top. This whole movie is just like mugging in general, but, like, I don't even feel satisfied at, like, the way that these characters do the over the top spoiled chick role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, nobody is giving great performances in this film. I think what I was surprised by, and like I said, never saw the movie, was how good I wasn't expecting them to look like that. Like, I've seen pictures before this of Sean and Marlon in the White Chicks, like, makeup and prosthesis and all of that. I didn't realize that the actual women actually look like, okay, I'm not even trying to be rude or shady. Okay. I promise you I'm not. But I was like, oh, like, that's kind of close. Like, it was, okay, this is mean. I'm just saying. Okay, shout out to the special effects people. Like, shout out to them because they did a great job.
No, you're right in that respect. I mean, to look like who these specific two girls look like is the best that, like, you could do with making Sean and Marlon look like them. But just in terms of, like, the representation, it's like, I didn't even really believe that they were, like, these two spoiled heiresses that are in their early 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like, I barely believed that, in the first place. So, like, with the way they're overreacting, like, I'm gonna have a BF and all this sorts of stuff, and it's just like, this doesn't, I don't know, it just, again, it's the trying to do just shooting at the softest targets, first of all, but, like, not even really clearing that gate, you know? And the whole reason why it even happens, why this contrived ass fucking movie even happens in the first place, right? Because let's fucking break it down. So, the white girls are really into, they're like, oh, I already gave to the Negro Foundation Fund or something like that, and they're like, oh no, we're actually supposed to be helping you get to where you need to get. There's a bit of a funny scene where Marlon's in the back of the car when the car takes off, and he's like, this isn't fair, and the car takes off, and his face gets pushed up against the screen. That got a good cheap laugh out of me, I'm not gonna act like I didn't.
Didn't do it for me, but I understand. Look, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate. Okay, so this is where I might be coming around a little bit on your Sean take. Okay, I do appreciate the commitment. I appreciate the willingness to do all of the physical stuff and look weird.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, it's definitely there.
Commitment to the bit.
Yes.
As bad as it may be. Oh, man. But then, just going into the actual fucking scene itself, the reason why any of this shit even happens is because the dog gets up on the dashboard and just confuses Sean while he's driving or something like that, and then they just go, whoa, like, going off the rails, and he's trying to pull the dog back, and the dog ends up, like, falling out of the car, and Sean is holding on to the dog by the collar, and the car is spinning out of control, and the whole time I'm just like, just stop the car. Like, just pull over. Like, what? Like, there's no reason why this is happening. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and also, it's also just like, I don't know. It's hard for me to laugh at, like, hurting an animal. It's like,
yeah.
You guys, is the dog okay? Like, what are you doing? It's too much.
Yeah, it's the same thing as fucking Soul Plane. Oh my god. You ever see that movie?
I have not.
For your own sanity, avoid it. Yeah, there was a scene where a dog gets sucked into an air jet engine or whatever the fuck. It's such a dumb fucking movie. Going back to it though. So again, you have this situation where they could have just fucking stopped the car, but whatever. All right, we have to have this action sequence where things are going awry, and in the fray, the two rich white girls get minor, like the fucking minorest of cuts. Like, yes. One gets a slight scar on the nose, and one gets a slight, like, bump on the upper lip, right?
Laughably small.
So, and because of that, they fucking freak out. They're gonna have a BF, a bitch fit, and, Marlon, Sean is like, just, oh man, he's trying to figure out what's gonna happen. He's like, well, how about you guys just stay here in this hotel? You guys just stay here and don't come out, and that'll be okay, because they're freaking out. They're about to call the FBI chief of police, because they're freaking out. And he's like, oh, okay, don't worry about it. Just stay in here, and you want to stay in here, right? Because you don't want anyone to see your freakish scarred up faces, right? And they're like, oh no. And he's like, all right, so just stay in here. And he's like, oh, Sean, Marlon's like, oh man, what are we gonna do, brother? And he does this fucking comically over exaggerated, like, oh, I'm gonna hang myself by my tie, which is so fucking dumb. Just tone deaf in terms of like just these fucking cheap ass jokes.
Totally.
Like. It's just like strangely dark for this movie, where he's like, well, just gonna go commit suicide. Like, okay, I get it, you're joking. Maybe on a Wayans Brothers episode that would be funny, but like, this is a movie where you're actually trying to portray a character. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, am I just supposed to watch your character, like, seem like he's about to commit suicide right now? You know? But, you know, the chief of police calls, and Sean picks up and he says, oh, you know, everything's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. You know, with his, you know, Mike Tyson, Tweety Bird voice. You know? And, this fucking dumbass, cheap-ass gag where Marlon tries to take the phone and Sean just grabs his brother by the balls
Oh my gosh.
to keep him from getting the phone. And it's like, huh?
So there are so many times in this film when I was like, I am so not the audience. I'm so not the audience. But like that kind of just middle school boy humor, I was like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not for me.
And like, but even so, like the way I feel about this type of shit is just like you can make lowbrow humor, but I feel like everything has a hierarchy to it, you know? Like, in terms of music, like, all right, you know, yeah, there's shitty dance music, but, you know, there's the Black Eyed Peas and then there's LMFAO. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
You get what I'm trying to say? I think you get what I'm trying to say.
I get it. There is a hierarchy. Okay. I'm on the train. Yeah.
So, like, the way I feel is like, yeah, and I feel like in past movies that they have done that I've reviewed on the show, it's been like, no, yeah, it's definitely lowbrow humor, but like, didn't it make you laugh? Didn't it throw you off? Didn't it get that reaction out of you that you kind of want from a movie that's trying to, like, take you to these funny, weird places? But this movie is just so bare bones in its humor. It's, like, not fucking worth even the good laughs that you get out of it, which we haven't even fucking got to yet. So, yeah, and again, speaking of the forced laughs, Sean grabs Marlon by the balls, which, again, no brother would fucking do, but okay, maybe there are some douchebag brothers out there that would grab their brothers by the nuts. Fucking fine. The only reason they did it anyway was just to have the cheap mugging for the camera gag of, you know, Marlon, you know, eyes bugging out with his vein popping, like, oh no, oh that's crazy, my brother grabbed me by the balls. Like, I'm sorry, you wouldn't be my fucking brother anymore if you're doing that shit, but okay. So then we get the actual setup where Sean is like, oh, you know, Marlon's like, hey, you fucking, you know, you have this whole mission where you're trying to get us to do this shit. Well, how the fuck are you gonna, how are we gonna make this work? And Sean goes, don't worry, I'm gonna call a guy. And he just calls some guy named Josh, who's like, and he's like, hey, Josh, how'd you like to be part of the team?
Okay, so here's where I was like, were we introduced to Josh? Did I miss something? Was Josh introduced before?
No!
Okay, because I thought I had zoned out and missed where we were introduced to him. He just showed up.
Yeah, like, there should at least be, like, some sort of establishing scene where he's like, you know, maybe he helped him out with the prosthetics before, and he's like, oh, come on, man, I'll help you out with the next mission, like, it's just, like, fucking something, but it's just, like, out of butt fucking nowhere. It's just like, hey, Josh, how'd you like to help? And then it's just, like, I'm just thinking, like, how do you just know someone offhand who just has boob prosthetics? Like, what? It's just so glossed over. It's just impossible to believe.
Super confusing. Had no idea.
And, you know, you get this montage. Again, they play the infamous line from Blazing Saddles. Where the white women at? You know. And the guy comes in, you know, he's putting on all the prosthetics with his team. Then there's one scene which is just kind of dumb where, like, Marlon has the prosthetic boobs put on him, and he opens his eyes and looks down, and he gets all disgusted, and he's like, ah! He freaks out, and it's just like, did you not know what you were doing? Like, what?
Right.
Again,
very strange.
Just these cheap jokes of, like, yeah, just like, oh, a black man doesn't want to be feminine. Whoa, that's weird. You know, like, it's just the most basic laugh of that, instead of, like, just, like, the basic understanding of the scene of, like, oh yeah, if these guys were doing the scene, yeah, he'd probably feel some rubber breasts and be like, oh, let me see how they feel, what the fuck is that? You know, like, it would be that type of scene, like, okay, this is weird, or whatever, but he wouldn't just freak out and run, like, right. I thought he was in on this gimmick too, wasn't he? So why is he just being weird?
Yes.
But there was the quick line where afterwards, you know, after Marlon freaks out, the guy just looks over, he's like, no, you're right, we should make him bigger. I thought that was at least a little funny, but again, not worth even the setup of what was happening. you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I don't know. I just could have done without the toxic masculinity of that, but yes.
Oh, absolutely.
A little funny, like throw a one-liner.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so we see the white chicks, the titular white chicks, and they just look like white Shreks.
Okay,
it's
but
so like
white Shreks that kind of almost look like the original white girls. Like, yes, it is horrifying, it is horrific, but at the same time, I was like, maybe that's, I mean, for 2004, like, prosthetics is like, wow, like, this is very,
there was the attempt. There was the active attempt, yes.
Like, y'all really had a budget for this, but still, if you saw that in real life, it would literally be horrifying.
No, I'll give you this. It was good enough prosthetics to the point where when there was the inevitable scene where, you know, some friends show up and they have to, you know, put on the prosthetics really quick, like when they came to the door and like they had it all on, I was just like, okay, I don't believe that. Like, no, there would be a little bit more time than that. You know? And and then there's also the question of, okay, so we have this flimsy premise. We kept the girls in a hotel and we're taking their place. Doesn't the chief of police want to know where they are? Doesn't the chief of police want to know where Sean and Marlon, like, where they went? You know, like, there's just no question.
That is such a good point. Oh my gosh, I never thought of this. Like, have they just disappeared?
Yet this movie just falls apart as soon as you think about it. And the reason why I was thinking about it, because later on there was a scene where, of course, you know, Marlon's nagging girlfriend calls him and is like, oh, where are you? And da-da-da. And, you know, of course, there's the misunderstood situation where, okay, so the girls are trying to put on clothing in a you know, fitting a fitting room. And one of the women that works there just kind of walks in on on Marlon trying to put on the clothes and goes like, oh, well, let me just help you. It's like, bitch, no, that's not how that goes. That's first of all, but all just done for the contrivance of like, the girl here's on the other end of the line, you know, his girlfriend hears, oh, let me fit the head into the hole, you know, that sort of a, you know, misunderstanding, the sitcom misunderstanding that always fucking happens, you know what I'm saying? And it's just so like, you did this such a fucking contrived setup just to get to this point. But then, the whole time, what I'm thinking is, wait a minute, doesn't she know that he's an FBI agent? Doesn't she know that he sometimes may have to go on covert missions? Like, is there no communication at all here? Because, like, she goes like, you know, where are you this whole time? Oh, you need to be home by this. It's like, okay, he just went off to, like, the fucking Hamptons for the weekend that this movie takes place. Did he not tell her that he had a mission or anything?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And it's fucking... Yeah, I mean, you know, not that they have a great line of communication on the front, because you see them in the, I think, like, one or two scenes they have together, where, you know, she's trying to talk to him and he's fucking falling asleep, like, comically, like, I'm just the typical guy, you know, just give me a beer in the sports game and anything beyond that, I just can't pay attention. And, like, and of course, you know, the thing that she's saying is like, you know, basically the whole scene is like, oh, you know, Marlon, you never pay attention to me. And he's like, oh, no, I'll pay attention to you right now. Tell me how you feel. And of course, you know, how she feels isn't something important that, you know, maybe is related to, I don't know, you know, work or hopes or aspirations or some shit. No, it's just like, I was trying on this dress yesterday and I wanted to know how you felt. And it's just like, oh my God.
Right. Yes. Yes.
It's just so basic. It's fucking insulting. Man. The only thing I could think of when I was thinking of this movie, I mean, amongst the, you know, cheap joke that, of course, they were gonna go for, where it's like, oh, you know, they get out of the car as the white chicks, and of course the first fucking thing that happens is they get, you know, maybe not harassed, but like, you know, just street called at, you know. Catcalled, yeah, that's the word. And, the first time it happens, it's Marlon, and he kind of, like, goes off the hook, like, and of course he has this deeper voice than he ever had on the rest of the movie, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, who the fuck you think you are, son? I'm gonna fuck you up, son. And it's just like, okay, you weren't even acting like that earlier in the movie. That's not even the type of character you were, but okay, whatever. Oh, he just doesn't realize that, you know, and maybe there's even like some inkling of social commentary you could get from that, right? Like, oh, you know, guys just, you know, they don't understand how it's like, hey man, you know, it happens sometime. If you're a woman, you can get casually just like, you know, bothered like that. Like, that's the thing that can happen. The little shred of commentary that you can get from that is just undercut by the fact that they do the gag twice. They literally just do the gag twice, where it's like, oh, but then the other brother gets catcalled by someone and goes, hey man, what the fuck are you doing, son? But it makes even less sense in that aspect, because he's like, he sounds like he's acknowledging that he's a girl, but he's also still having like the deep voice. He's like, no man, you know, let me hold my G-string and we can handle this, son. And it's just like, okay, well, if you know that you're supposed to be a girl, why are you still doing the deep voice? It's just like so dumb on its face. It just expects you to laugh from the idea of like, oh, you don't expect a white girl to be saying that.
Yeah, so I do think that that's an interesting point about the potential for social commentary on like how women don't have control over our bodies. Like, women's bodies are public property. Mm-hmm. But there's also like the homophobia, right? Like, I feel like the intention of that gag is,
it gets overridden by that,
is homophobia of like, no, I'm a man, so don't touch me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought maybe there was some little digs going in there about because you know when I thought that maybe there were some little digs in there about like plastic surgery culture or whatever the fuck, right? Because, you know, they meet up with their friends that they apparently haven't seen in a year. So, you know, Sean and Marlon, posing as the girls, meet up with the heiress's friends that they haven't seen in a year. So like, oh, you know, it would make sense maybe they don't recognize them, and they go like, oh, you know, grandma, why are your lips so big? You know, grandma, why, how did you get taller? You know what I'm saying? That they have that whole ordeal, but like they kind of cover up with it by going like, oh, I got collagen, oh, I got my knees done, like, oh, that's a thing you can do now. And I was thinking like, maybe that's a little bit of saying something, you know, there. I don't know, what do you think of that?
I didn't see it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't see it. But now that you're bringing,
all right, let's not give him credit.
I was like, I guess if we can stretch it a little bit, I didn't really see it, but okay.
It wasn't that clever. I wanted to comment real quick on just how incongruous this fucking movie is in terms of like it's just fucking racially tone deaf, right? Okay, so you have earlier in the movie, Sean and Marlon are these two black guys who are being really insensitive to like Latino culture at large, and then you later have the scene where they're pretending to be the white girls, right? And then one of the agents that they don't know is an agent, right, happens to be Latino. Actually, wait a minute. No, the Sean and Marlon should know that these guys are two of the agents. Because remember, there's the white and the Latino agent, you know, the white dude who's from fucking Night at the Roxbury. I can't remember what else he was in. Okay, so, yeah, you have earlier in the movie, like, they were being really insensitive to, like, Latino people, and then you have this scene where they're playing the white girls, right, you know, and, like, the Latino guy pretending to be, like, a concierge at, like, the hotel or whatever the fuck, he comes up to them to help them with their bags, and they continue to be, like, really racially insensitive towards him, like, calling him Wolfgang Paco and all this sort of shit, and it's just like, well, are you commenting on the racism of the white girls? Because you guys are kind of racist towards Latinos at the beginning of the movie, so what's happening here?
Yep. And it's so interesting because after I looked at the credits, there's like 6 writers on this movie, and it's like, you guys need to get your shit together because none of this makes any sense.
Who the fuck is to blame? I want names. And the whole reason why this scene pans out the way it does is because the concierge is just like, oh, you know, I need your, you know, ID and credit card, please, you know. And she does, and Sean pulling out his credit card is like, oh snap, oh it just looks like me. He pulls a thing where he's like, oh, I'm just gonna do like the white girl does at the beginning of the movie and get irrationally angry.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Get it? See, she goes like, what? You want my ID? I can't believe this. I'm gonna call your manager and da-da-da-da-da and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but I
And it's
actually
just-
thought that was interesting. So I think that about halfway through this movie, I was like, oh, actually, I can see the commentary here. So I do think it's like super poorly executed. But there is, we're having all of these conversations right now about white womanhood and how white women weaponize fragility and how white women weaponize their anger. And I thought it was actually pretty astute, like the fact that they knew to tap into that outrage, like tap into that can I speak to the manager imagery. Like that's a real thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I was told by Apple Care, like tapping into that, like they did it. Obviously not entertained, like not great. We'll never watch this movie again. But I felt what they were trying to do there.
Maybe if there was just some sort of better setup, it could have worked. But it just felt so contrived the way it was set up. Like, oh, yeah, of course, like a hotel concierge would ask you for your your ID and your fucking credit card. Like, you know what I mean? It's just such like, yeah. It's just so like rock stupid that it's just like, but okay, they're making that point and yeah, it's just awkwardly done. Then we get to the white party and now we can talk about your boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terry fucking Crews, who just goddamn steals the movie, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll give you that.
It's just so over the top. Like, he is in the movie that this should have been. You know what I'm trying to say?
I will say that I, did not really laugh. The one line that I laughed at genuinely was a line delivered by Terry Crews. So I will absolutely give him that. Like, he was working. He earned his paycheck in this film. Yeah.
Exactly. That's how I feel. It's like, it's not that it's great material, but look, if you're an actor, you do the best with what you can. And you can't say he didn't do the best with what he can.
Yeah, he was also extremely committed. Like, I will say, I think casting him as a basketball player is strange. I don't know.
Yeah, that threw me up. I was saying, like, nah, a big dude like him, he would be a football player. Like,
and
what?
Terry Crews was a football player in real life, so that was perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. So it that did throw me off, like, just off the rip. And then, has the line, he's like, maybe summer in the Hamptons, but it's snowing up in here.
Yeah. Fun. Yes, funny.
Now, of course, I think, like, what's happening here, right, is the commentary on, the black guy who gets big and sells out and only wants the white chicks, right? Like, that's what they're going for here. The over-the-top sending up of that type of character. That's what I was getting. There's one scene where he's talking to her, he says, once you go black, you're gonna need a wheelchair. And then a woman in a wheelchair comes up and he's like, hey, Trinell, how have you been? And he's like, and he, calls his fucking Froggy, his fucking, who would you call him? Who's the P. Diddy guy who held the umbrella? His, Bentley Farnsworth.
He's like, yeah, Farnsworth Bentley. Yeah, I was trying to think of what the name was.
He calls in to sort of scoot her out of the way. Like, I at least loved the gag of like, oh, he's saying this thing that sounds exaggerated, and then like, oh, and then, an actual one comes up. Like, I at least appreciate, like, there at least being gags happening here, right?
Lots of bits. A lot of bits. Sure. Yeah.
There's the bit with the Yo Mama thing that I feel is a bit prolonged and could have used better jokes. But that's the big scene that a lot of people I remember quoting when the movie first came out. Yo mom is so old, her breast milk is like this, and blowing the fucking powder out, which is just like, where the fuck did you even get the powder?
Exactly.
But,
like,
okay,
how
whatever.
are you prepared for this? I'll also say that those like white women actresses, like, Those poor women, like, they moved to LA, like, with the dream. Right. You know, they wanted to be on Melrose Place, and this is what they, like, end up in.
Oh, no. Not like this.
Yes, so sad for them.
Oh, man. Okay, so then we get probably the reason why this movie was made. The scene where the two black guys dressed as white chicks are hanging out with the white chicks, and you know they're going down the street listening to the radio, and Vanessa Carlton comes on, and okay, can I say something? Am I tripping, or was this song kind of a bop at the time?
Oh, that's not
right?
controversial at all. That's a great song.
Oh,
yeah, that's a classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's what, so, and like, I understand it was like, oh yeah, you know, white girl made it, so, you know, alright, maybe that's the main audience, but like, I don't remember there being any stigma about it.
No.
No, it was just kind of like.
I definitely think it's like the archetypal, like, white girl sing-along song.
But then they switch over to a song that I don't know the lyrics of at all.
I've literally never heard that song.
Yeah, exactly.
I've literally never heard it.
So, like, that even sets up the contrast even more, right? Like, okay, so Sean and Marlon don't know one of the biggest hit songs of that year, but they do know but they and the white girls know the lyrics to this song? Like, what even is the song?
And I was like, so, yeah, what's going on? Like, you couldn't get the rights to a real song? Because there's so many actually popular songs from 2004 in the movie. Why did you choose a random rap song that I literally have never heard? What's the point?
Yeah, so, and maybe that's what it is. Like, that contrast just felt more, like, stark to me. Like, okay, maybe not everyone knows, like, that you song, but you know this song?
Right.
You know?
Totally.
And, you know, of course, like, again, I feel like this is why the movie was made. Like, the idea of, like, what? You said the N-word. You're not supposed to say that. And, you know, them saying, like, well, there's no black people around. And, you know, just being sort of like, oh, hey, so it's okay to do it. Da-da-da, hey. And, I mean, it's, again, a basic gag.
Yeah.
You know?
I also wonder, I mean, obviously times have changed, but I wonder, like, how those white actresses felt. Like, were they excited? Like, were they reticent? Like, what were you feeling when you saw in the script that you're going to have to gleefully sing the N-word?
Well, see, I think about it in terms of, like, because, you know, okay, people are going to, you know, when you make a movie or whatever, it's like you may have to say words that are not, you know, typically cool to say, but you're doing it in the service of something, right? Like, this character's like this because we're trying to prove a point about this, you know? And this movie definitely doesn't even try to do that. Like, it wasn't even it wasn't even attempting to do that. But it's just the simple gag of, like, you know, it's just that sort of, you're not supposed to say the N-word. Oh, but they're giving you permission to say it as white girls who are actually black, so maybe they should feel a bit more responsibility to,
right.
You know, talking about this. But, okay, I guess we're just going to gloss over it for the joke of, like, maybe revealing that these white girls are, like, you know, maybe not as PC as they think they are, but that wasn't really established as a thing in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's not like it was even thought of that, like, oh, these are actually the liberal white girls, but, oh, get them behind closed doors and we see what happens. It's just kind of like, just for the sake of the gag, you know what I mean?
I totally get it.
But the fitting room scene was at least slightly enjoyable. Would you not, like, okay, the scene where, you know, the girl puts on the outfit that look, you know, it looks fine, like, it looks okay. And she turns over to Sean, who's, like, looking at her. You know, you hear fucking romantic music playing, you know, like, oh, man, she looks hot because, you know, this guy thinks she looks hot. And she's like, oh, you know, how do I look? And he's like, oh, man, you look fine as hell. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I look fat as shit. I look fucking awful. And you know, like, just the subversion of that idea of, like, oh, a guy may think this girl looks hot, but, like, you know, girls will have this internalized thing of, like, looking at all of our flaws. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I also think there is, like, I mean, if you have ever spent a lot of time with white women, obviously, like, body dysmorphia and that stuff is not, like, just a white woman's thing, but there is a particular way that, like, white women, like, relate to their bodies and talk about their bodies and, like, I'm so fat and, like, that kind of thing. It is very, like, especially, like wealthy, like, upper middle class. There is, like, they did, like, accurately do that thing. Like, look at my cellulite. Like, look at my like, look at my love handles. That was a thing.
But I just hated how the scene ended. Again, just a cheap joke of, like she's got all these tight clothes that she can't fit on or whatever, and you know she's like, honey, this isn't working, and then her friend just goes like, well, of course not, you're wearing the wrong underwear, and just pulls her underwear up, just gives her a wedgie for like no reason, like when you watch the scene play out, it's just like, what? Why the fuck did they do that? And it was purely for the gag of like, so it can cut to, you know, Sean's face as he goes, oh, you know what I'm saying?
More,
like,
you know, physical comedy from Sean, committing to the bit.
I did, however, like how they ended the scene where it was just like, again, her trying to put all this tight shit, and you know, there's the gag of her saying like, I think I need a bigger size, and like, honey, you never need a bigger size. And then when she finally comes out, it just like rips all the clothing, and they're just like,
good.
Yeah, exactly, that was good. And they're like, maybe a dress. I was like, I should have gone with that in the first place.
I will go with that. When all of the like seams are ripping, like that sequence was pretty, I won't say funny, but it was pretty like fun to watch.
It threw you off. You off. Then there's the two police, the two FBI officers. They do this continuous gag of like, oh, who would you bang? And the bit is very cheap, but it kept throwing me off guard with just how much of a dick the Latino dude was being to the white guy. Where it would just, like, every reaction he would give, he would just, like, be disapproving of. He'd be like, Roseanne Barr, or, you know, fucking Fran Drescher, or whatever. And he'd be like, Roseanne. He's like, what are you doing? And just like just the fact that he's always disappointed with him and yet never is always cut off before he gives his answer. Like, I at least like that bit idea. You know what I mean?
I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I see what you're saying.
I mean, it's totally insensitive, but, like, there's at least, like, okay, these two FBI guys, they're wasting time in between their mission, whatever, they're gonna say some stupid shit. You know, like, at that level, I was able to enjoy it. You know what I'm trying to say? So you get the nagging girlfriend again, who doesn't seem to know he has a job, and it's apparently not possible for him to just tell her what's happening. But, you know, Sean is like, oh, look, at the end of the week, we're gonna be heroes, so, you know, don't worry about it. And at that point, I paused the movie, and I was like, heroes? Heroes? What? You're only doing this whole thing because you didn't want to explain to your boss why the sisters you picked up have slight scars on their faces.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are...
So I did think it was interesting, like, the way that they, like, completely misrepresented. Like, I'm not deeply invested in, like, accurately representing the FBI. But it's like, did y'all even do any research? Like, come on. Like, did y'all just make this up? Was Google a thing back then? Yeah, it was. Like,
clearly.
Like, any just, like, foundational, like, there was no attempt at all to, like, be accurate.
Yeah, like, even with the two twins, okay, so you took care of them by keeping them in a hotel. Are they not going to contact their friends at any point?
Right. Cell phones were definitely a thing. Like, what's going on? MySpace, like, Zynga, like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's ridiculous how just, like, unplausible this whole plot is. Oh, my God. There's one scene where, of course, there's the Mrs. Doubtfire, you know, oh, people are showing up unexpected, what to do? But, you know, at least in that fucking movie, there's a gag, right? There's like she has to run to the fridge real quick and put her face in a cake, so, you know, you can't see that the makeup isn't done yet. Like, there's something. Yeah. But with this movie, it's just like, oh, their friends show up, and, oh, it's not expected, but they're able to get to the door in a couple of minutes and have all the makeup on just fine. And it's just like, what? No,
right. Yeah,
like, that's not even slightly believable.
Point, and I also think that it makes sense for me why I would enjoy a movie like Mrs. Doubtfire and not enjoy this. Right. There's no attention to detail. At the very least.
Then we get to, there's a scene where the girls, they're braiding her hair or something like that. Yeah, Sean is braiding one of the girls' hair, and of course is able to do it very well, because, I mean, he's black. And, cause he's able to braid her hair really quickly. Like, you see her at one point, it's half done.
Oh, totally.
And then all of a sudden, it's just done.
Those cornrows, they're so perfect. The parts are super neat. Like, I'm a black woman, and I can't even do that.
Exactly. And then you have the fucking vomit-inducing line where they're like, oh, wow, there's one, mini plot point where one of the friends is dealing with a boyfriend that is, being careless, being a dickhead to her or whatever. And he's like, oh, sometimes I just wish guys could know what it's like to trade places with us.
Yes.
Do you get it? And but then right when that point is brought up, someone knocks on the door, and two men are at the door, two kind of sketchy looking guys, and say, hey, are you one of the Ayers sisters? And she goes like, yeah. And the two guys run in, wrestle her to the ground, and they're like, oh no, what's going on? Your other brother comes in, beats the shit out of the two guys because it's understood like, oh man, these could be the kidnappers. And then her friends are like, what are you doing? These aren't kidnappers, these are strippers hired to pretend to be kidnappers. To fucking take you by surprise, to take the audience by surprise, but they're coming in to do a striptease for you. It's like, okay, no, like when I've seen this done in a movie, it's like, oh, like a firefighter, comes to the door and he's like, oh, there's been a fire in my pants, like it's something like that where it's just like, okay, I don't actually believe there's a fire. Oh, there's some sort of joke going on here. Not fucking guys about to fucking kidnap you.
That's so funny. That's so
It's just so... I'm sorry, this movie is just so, like, ridiculously done. It's just like, God damn it. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, there's a fucking... I just want to skip all this dumb shit. There's a dumbass scene where they're at a beach. And a horrible-looking beach, by the way. Doesn't even look like a fucking Hamptons beach. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't even look like a nice-looking-ass beach in a rich neighborhood.
Yes, very basic.
But whatever the fuck. They're at this beach where one of the bitchy girls, white bitchy rich girl, like asks one of the dudes with a douche haircut to throw a football at one of his friends, but to miss on purpose and hit the beer tap that's next to the white chicks, which is just such a dumb gag. It's just like, this is stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is fucking playground shit. Ooh, throw a ball that hits the beer tap next to them so that it sprays on them at a beach where even if water sprays on you, you can just go into the ocean and be fine. Like, like there's no fucking stakes in this goddamn movie.
That's so true.
Oh my God. Oh shit, man. It just gets worse. There's a dumbass fucking scene where there's a fucking auction. The bitchy white girl is like, oh, we're doing an auction, and I'm the first person, so who wants to bet on me? And so and so gets like $20,000 or something like that, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. And then the stakes of this scene is basically, Sean or no, it was Marlon. Is also one of the girls that's called up, and he who else wants to win a date with the Marlon character? And someone throws up their hand for like $4 or something like that. People laugh, and then Terry Crews is there, so he offers like $1,000. And all of a sudden, we got a bet on our hands, and Sean is like, ooh, what do I got to do? I got to do something to keep to keep Terry Crews from getting with him. So he goes behind random people and like tickles their underarms so that they raise their hands, and so that it looks like they're betting.
Oh this is when I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It was so juvenile. This
is a movie for children.
It was worse than for children. It was so cartoonish. It made no sense. It's like they ran out of ideas.
honestly, like, ooh, it tickled my arm and hand went up, but oh, this is dumb. Yeah. And then you have the scene where fucking Shawn Wayans tries to play the fucking ladies' man role, you know, where he's trying to pick up the one girl who's like, you know, fine as fuck, but is for some reason talking to this asshole. And, you know, the whole scene, he's like doing things to play himself up. You know, he pays these kids $5 to ask for his autograph in front of her and all this dumb shit. Oh, it's just so... It's these, like, dumb gags, these cheap jokes at the expense of, like, actually, like, you know, like, these cheap gags that, like, betray the character motivations that you're trying to have. It's like, look, if you're this guy who's just gonna pay 5 kids to fucking, like, make you look like a cool guy and then not even pay them the $5 afterwards, like, tell them to split it between each other, like, you're a douchebag and I don't like you. Like, you know? But it's supposed to be like, oh, isn't it funny that he did that? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, so bad, dude. This movie is a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of all the other shit. Oh my god. He has to go on a date. Marlon has to go on a date with Terry Crews, and there's a whole awkward thing where, like, oh, he's trying to not be appealing to Terry, but Trinell, I think that Latrell is the name of the character in the movie. But no matter what Marlon does, he likes her anyway because, you know, she's got that nice booty and those lips. And again, I think that's a bit of the commentary, you know, like, oh, you know, you like these attributes when they're on a white chick, you know, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
I don't even know if that was intentionally the commentary. Like, I don't think so. Because also, like, Sean is not, or was it Marlon? Whoever that one was, like, they
Marlon,
aren't shaped cute. Like, I don't know. It's like just like
You're
a
right.
fetishizing of like whiteness. Like, I don't know. It's like,
yeah, there's this whole thing where it's like the characters acknowledge that they don't look like white chicks, but then still, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, we have to have the gag of noticing that they don't look like white chicks, but it's still gonna be completely unquestioned and no one ever really finds out. Right. You know? So it's just like, well, like, are we is the movie supposed to have me believing that this is so, or is it not? You know what I mean?
That's such a good point. Yeah, because I don't know. Like, if you saw them, okay, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes. If I was in a room and I saw these people, like, what would my first thought be? Like, would I be like, oh, like, weird makeup? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what the actual reality is.
Like, maybe you got plastic surgery like that one chick who wanted to look like a cat or something.
Like, maybe that would be my first, like, oh, like, she's done something very strange to her face.
There's a whole dumbass basic nightclub scene, which turns into a dance routine. At this point, it feels like a fucking nightmare.
Like, I will say I love a dance routine. That's something I miss about the movies of the early 2000s. Okay. They were all really good for a choreographed dance sequence. I appreciate that. But again, very gimmicky, very hacky, just like very 2004.
Exactly. It's like, what these 6 white chicks just they coordinated this dance routine fucking just in case they were in the Hamptons and someone challenged them to a dance battle. Like, what is this? You know, and if the movie was fun and silly and ridiculous enough to carry us through that up to this point, like, it would be you know, it's that suspension of disbelief that people always talk about with films, you know? Like, if the movie is fun and ridiculous enough that you can carry me to this point, I can ride with you on okay, there's a fucking dance number breaks out, whatever the fuck. But it's just so unearned. And then there's a weird fucking thing about the Terry Crews wanting to slip a Mickey into one of the girls' drinks.
Yes. Things that would not fly in 2020. Just add that to the list.
But Sean is able to see it and, you know, switches the drinks. And he roofies himself basically, and, you know, has a whole crazy nightclub experience. Again, it's one of those scenes where it's just like, this is really awkward and awful, but Terry Crews, oh boy, you are doing your best. He's out there on that dance floor, being all shirtless with the fucking light show thing, trying to just, you know what I'm saying, just trying to make the people laugh.
Yeah, give it to Terry Crews. Like, when he's like in his like lane, like slapstick lane, like, I have this crazy ripped body, but I'm a goofball lane. Like, he is good at, like, that is his thing.
Yeah.
He was fun.
So, fucking skip over all the bullshit. They get fired because they're found out. And then Sean thinks that they'll be able to get rehired by, you know, like all these fucking cop movies do, going rogue and doing the, you know, finishing the mission, interrupting a case that's probably, you know, being currently investigated by the FBI, because wasn't that still happening?
Right.
But okay, they're gonna pretend to be the white chicks and continue the mission. And there's just this fashion show that ends up happening, and the white chicks find out that that they have been in the Hamptons, and somehow this fucking dance battle gets fucking newspaper worthy news, whatever the fuck. Fine. You know, hey, around 2004, you know, it was a thing, like, oh, you know, the Paris Hilton, you know, the heiress was caught in a nightclub, you know, maybe flashing a little more than she should, you know, that sort of whole bullshit.
Oh, that's so true. That was a big thing. Oh, gosh, we were all so gross back then.
Yeah, you know, when you think about it.
So gross and misogynistic.
When you really think about it, man. There was one South Park episode that I remember. You know, South Park has never always been, you know, particularly on the ball when it comes to the social commentary. But I remember this one episode where it was about, like, Britney Spears and how, like, you know, she had been, like, just exploited even when she, like, fucking shoots herself in the face or something like that. And it's just like, ooh, damn, yeah. No, why were we treating these fucking pop stars like this?
Celebrity culture in the early 2000s was such a shit show. It was such a mess.
Where we're basically saying, oh, because you're this airhead socialite heiress who shouldn't have your wealth, it's actually, you know, kind of okay that you're getting your comeuppance by, you know, having your sex life intruded into and having your personal nightlife intruded into. You know what I'm saying?
That was a crazy time. Yes, that is exactly what it was.
Yeah. But there's none of that deeper social commentary in this shit. No, the way it ends is the heiresses find out the truth. I guess they were just fucking, I don't know, at the hotel watching fucking TV for the last 3 days.
Right. Not contacting anybody. Not letting anybody know where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hanging out.
And so they come in. Turns out the whole plot is being devised by, I think, the Wilson dad himself in order to get the guy to kidnap the women so they can get the money because they're actually broke or something.
He's broke.
Somebody's broke.
He's broke. He needed the money.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's broke who you think is rich. The real girls end up going to the fashion show that's happening. You know, you know, they're gonna get some ribs in on the fashion industry. That's gonna be real clever in a way that Zoolander totally didn't do better. But then, you know, you get this whole thing where it's like, okay, the real girls come in, and it's like, oh, they meet up with the super flamboyant fashion guy, and he's like, oh my god, I need you guys to be on my runway because you guys are so the it girls. And so, you know, there's the confusion of, wait, oh, they're sending out the real girls and the actual Sean and Marlon girls? What? Oh, what a kerfuffle. And that whole bullshit happens. It doesn't fucking, like, I don't even want to fucking describe it. It just so doesn't matter at this point. Like, they've lost all my respect and goodwill. If they had planned this to be like a parody or a satire of something, maybe this could have worked. But it's so half-assed. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, like if they were going to do a parody, there would at least be some sort of send-up of the idea of, two guys just got fired from the FBI and are just going to continue to pretend to be these women. You know, like, there's something wrong with that. That should be commented on. That should be illegal. Someone should be stopping them. It's fucked up.
The two sets of white chicks meet, or they both are in the fashion show.
Yeah, the bitchy rich chick gives them the wrong sort of like dress or something like that. There's some sort of Bjork swan contraption thing that she puts in their wardrobe.
Right. And then, okay, so this is where I don't know if I like dozed off. I wasn't sure how we get to the paint. I wasn't sure what we skipped through.
Okay, let me look. What? Okay, yeah, no, this is stupid. I literally had to look back. It is hyper contrived. I had to look back at this shit. So basically, what happens is they, the friends of the white chicks go over and go like, ooh, you know, those bitchy girls are ruining our friend's show. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull a railing where the girls are up top, you know, above the show, that makes them fall down, possibly to their deaths. But okay, whatever, they survive it. But then after they fall, they just kind of look up, and then it's just like, oh, there's red paint that was up there, and then it just got these two just random fucking buckets just fall on them. Yeah.
I completely missed this entire thing. So where did the red paint come from? It was just there. It was
just, and it doesn't even make sense that it was there, because it was just like, the ledgering that they should have fallen from shouldn't even be level anymore. So, like, if the paint was going to fall, it should have already fallen. It's just like this, it's so dumb. Like, obviously badly directed moment. Like, a very clearly badly directed moment.
Okay, because I was like, okay, well, we're giving us like Carrie vibes.
Exactly.
Like, you know, we're getting a Carrie illusion here, but I just didn't know how we got there. But it doesn't make sense how we got there, so I didn't miss it.
Yeah, there's not even the dedication to setting it up properly. Literally, they fall off of the railing that their friends, you know, pull the string for. Somehow they fall down and don't break their necks. And then they get up and then look up, and then what? There were two paint buckets that were sitting on this tilted framers that just fell just now.
Yeah.
that no one set up. It's not like the friends set that up. Like, they just kind of pulled the thing, and oh, look, two paint buckets just happened to be there. Like, yeah, it's a complete fucking contrivance. Absolute bullshit.
Absurd. Yeah, okay.
Man,
okay.
Fuck this movie. I really just had, like, wow. Just to, that really just put the icing on the cake. Just, like, not even trying to set up anything. Not even trying to, like, have any A follows B follows C. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's just, it's so wacky that happened, and then, oh, the fashion guy is happy with it, because he's like, wow, it's so brilliant and creative.
You know, something that I do think about is, like, somebody had to greenlight this movie, so somebody, a Hollywood executive, most likely white, like, read this script and was like, that's it, like, this is it, like, let's go with it, no notes, like,
yeah, no, that would be too ridiculous, but keep this.
yeah, very strange. And it's like they ran out of time, like, the way that it was wrapped up, like, so awful. It's like, okay, and the movie is not short, like, it's still like an hour and 50 minutes,
an hour and 48 minutes. I was like, wait,
yeah.
You could at least breeze by, you know? But goddamn, wasting my time. Yeah, basically a fucking Chinese dragon puppet thing comes out of butt fucking nowhere that a whole bunch of people are under, and they try to smuggle the girls out or something. It really is just fucking nonsense. Like, there's this YouTuber has this channel called, Pitch Meetings, and he talks about, like, you know, what if someone, like, you watch these bad movies and you think, like, someone had to pitch this, right? Like, you know, what if someone had to explain what this was? And, you know, it's probably not really how most movies go, right? Like, most movies are like, they have a certain idea, but then when you film it, things can change or whatever the fuck, you know? But, like, if you had to describe a final product of a movie, you know what I mean? As if, like, that was what they intended. Like, yeah, a lot of shit would seem really wacky. And this movie in particular is just fucking bonkers. Just fucking madness.
It truly is absurd. Like, it actually is ridiculous. I tried to read, like, the log line, like, before, and I was like, this, okay. Like, it doesn't even
satisfy, like, the whole idea of the social commentary under which a contrived-ass movie like this would even be happening in the first place, you know? Like...
Yeah, Yeah, like there is a way that this could be really interesting and insightful, but it's just, I don't know, they ran out of time. They couldn't fully flesh it out. Or they don't have the skill to. I don't know.
Again, as someone who, you know, loved their movies, loved their stuff, knew that they were, like, you know, for the longest time, like, what they did was satire and parody. That's what they are good at. And I even remember, like, when this movie came out and it being like, wait, you guys aren't, like, lampooning anything? You're not, like, making any fun of anything in particular? Like, am I just supposed to laugh at the idea of, haha, rich white girls are dumb? Like, you know?
Yeah, I think that is what we were just supposed to laugh at. And, like you said, many people did.
Because, again, it's a harmless, easy target. You know, like, rich white girls, they're not going to complain because they're rich and having a good life anyway, so you can just make fun of the fact that they're vapid and their lives don't amount to much or whatever the fuck.
Right.
But the one thing that felt like it was slightly worth it was the joke of Terry Crews finding out at the end that, you know, when Marlon takes off the wig, he's just like, you know, the whole time, you know, Terry Crews is like, baby, I don't care if you're an undercover agent, you know, I'll still love you, whatever, da-da-da. And he goes like, no, you don't understand.
That was the one time I laughed. It was literally, I waited an hour and 40 minutes for that. But the big reveal when he's like, you're black? Oh, so good. So shout out to Terry Crews, because that was great.
Exactly. It is, this whole movie is only for that one part, and it is not fucking worth it.
No, it is not. It's truly not at all.
You can see this one gag on YouTube, and you've already got the best of this film. I like the other Wayans Brothers movies, and as much as they do, like, step over the line in terms of, you know, making fun of people, like, the main thing that they're going for is the idea of, like, oh, subverting your expectations by ribbing at these things that are sensitive taboos, and they make you laugh because it throws you off. Like, I get it. There's an art to the not just the screwball comedy, but, like, the idea of, like, the gross out comedy that's using these things to, like, prod and poke at society, but, you know, whereas sometimes it ends up saying something, other times it feels really fucking insensitive and like they just weren't goddamn thinking about it. And this movie is one where, like, up to this point, I could make the excuses for a lot of these Wayans Brothers movies where it's like, yeah, I know, like, this is insensitive and that's insensitive, but, like, I threw you off with this, and actually, when you look at the film as a whole, they're kind of saying something about this, and you can appreciate it on that level. This, there is nothing. It is just bad, base humor that thinks it's so fucking clever for making fun of rich teenagers, you know?
I mean, maybe it does think it's clever, but for me, when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, well, they just made this to get a check.
Yeah.
Like, they just made this to, like, have something to do, and the studio, I didn't realize that this was after the scary movies, but, like, the studio was like, oh, well, people will go see this, because this is people they like, and they'll collect their checks, like, whatever. Get your money, it is what it is.
And, you know, Wayans Brothers movies normally have that rubbing up against, you know, the racial conversations with movies like Don't Be a Menace to South Central, with movies like in parts of Scary Movie, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not that that's not there, it's just, it's so devoid of anything that is clever, that throws you off, that anything that's a part of this type of humor that makes you go, ooh, that was offensive, but fuck, you threw me off and you got me. You know, like, that at least cheeky sense of, like, oh, I should feel bad for laughing at this, but you got me, though. Like, it's not even that. It's just like, just joke after joke where you're just like, oh, you went for that? Oh, you went for that? You know?
Yeah, that's it. Just cheap laughs, easy.
Oh, my God.
But the thing is, like, their reward, that's my other thing is, like, I also have to think about audience, right?
Is this, like, what people wanted?
Yeah, is that, like, maybe they just want cheap and easy.
Is this what you want, people? Is this what you want?
Yeah.
Dance, monkey, dance. Oh, man.
I mean, it sounds bad, but I really feel like that's legit.
Look, at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of the machine, you know? Fucking, oh my, I just saw another one of my notes that just pissed me off. Again, the fucking sitcom Misunderstanding, where the shrewying, naggy girlfriend comes all the way to, I don't know how she knows where the girls' hotels are, but whatever the fuck, she comes in. And, you know, she comes in, she's looking around, where's the white chick? I want to know where she is. Where is she? And then, you know, it's revealed she finds Sean Wayans in the chick costume, and he's like, that's it, I am leaving. And, you know, as she's leaving, Marlon goes like, wait, baby, you don't understand. It's not what you think. She's a man. And, you know, the girlfriend looks back and like, that is messed up. And then turns back, and it's just like, I just threw my fucking head in my hands. Just like okay, we already have the transphobic joke, like, there, but just, like, the fact that it's so contrived in the sense of, like, if you're trying to explain to your girlfriend that you're not fucking a white chick, wouldn't you be like, hey, it's my brother, take off the wig? Like, it's just so fucking contrived that it's goddamned insulting. Like, the only way that would work is if you're a fucking idiot who wouldn't be trying to communicate properly to your girlfriend what's happening.
Agreed, 100%.
But, you know,
I will say that I did like the little, like, know your worth, like, you know, with the Busy Phillips character when she's, you know, like the side chick, and she finally realizes that she deserves to be more than the side chick.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, satisfying enough, yeah. But yeah, like, overall, it is a dirge of a movie to get through. And
it's actually horrible.
Yeah, legitimately, like, a blight on their career. Like, the two maybe funny moments aren't worth this goddamn schlock. Not worth seeing again. Don't watch it. Fucking watch In Living Color. Try to find that shit. Try to find Don't Be a Menace to South Central. Try to find the Wayans Brothers TV show, for God's sakes. But whatever you do, don't waste your time with this fucking bullshit. And that's all I have to say about that.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
I agree.
So if you don't have any parting notes, I'm about to fucking wrap this puppy up.
I think that everybody involved should be ashamed. I hope that they were paid really, really well. And also, what happened to Sean Wayans? He doesn't still do stuff, right? He's gone.
I kind of think it's like his career is sort of dependent on Marlon, because it's like you need the wacky guy to the straight man character, which Sean, you know, is okay at playing at best, you know?
What if Sean was, like, secretly really a brilliant actor? Like, what if secretly in his heart, like, he really wanted to do, like, serious drama?
And he was being held back by his older
Yeah.
brother. He should have struck out like Damon did. He should have...
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man.
But he must have enough money, because we don't see him in any, like, BS commercials.
Yeah, true.
Commercials or, like, movies. So, good for him.
You know, and then you got your boy Marlon. He's doing things with Netflix where he clearly has not learned his lesson.
Yeah, that's another reason why I object to ranking Sean too high, because
you know what?
we see what he has made since then.
That's a good point. If you're gonna look at the scope of their careers, if we're taking all that into account, you know, that does bump your boy down a few notches. Bumps him down below Keenan. You know, all right, you know what? I'm gonna give you that.
Yeah, it's just not, I don't know, that Netflix movie where he's like, oh my God, 8 characters or something. Yeah, and like one of them is a baby. I don't know. One of them is a little kid, right? It's like a fucking
fever dream. Like, did this shit not come out like a decade and a half ago or something?
Yeah, very, very bizarre. Weird sensibilities.
Yeah, and wasn't he also doing, like, he did a Netflix special that was, a Netflix comedy special. Then he did, like, some, like, TV show on Netflix where it just, like, I tried watching it, you know, for the sake of being like, hey, you know, give the guy a chance, you know, you were a fan of him, why the fuck not? And it's just like, it's just the same sort of contrived, you know, man-child who can't grow up, you know, somehow is pulling this really odd chick, but there's some acknowledgement that, because she's getting with someone else and she's trying to move on, but it's just like, it's kind of like a Mrs. Doubtfire situation where it's just like, okay, the scope I mean, the eyes we're supposed to be seeing through is through the loser schlub guy who should be moving on, and now I'm getting caught up on the idea of why are you not just moving on and you're just trying to intrude in this woman's life. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh, but he has the kids with her, and he's such a good guy, and, you know, the Marlon show on fucking CBS or fucking UP in Thursdays or something like that. But it's like a decade and a half too late, where it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Bad.
And
he keeps getting chances, so it's not, I mean, he gets a lot of chances.
Well, see, then there's he did the 50 Shades of Black movie, which, again, is just running the shit into the ground. I'm not going to be doing that shit unless you lovely Ko-fi donors out there would like to give a donation. You know, we are doing that on this podcast. If you'd like to do a donation, one-time donation, that is a $30 donation to my Ko-fi, kofi.com/rapcritic. So if you want to send that request through, I will do it. But otherwise, fuck no, I'm not looking at any of these goddamn movies, because holy shit, they have lost all the fucking credibility, especially Marlon, after this goddamn thing. And I remember watching 50 Shades of Black with my friends a couple of years ago and being like, holy shit, how I don't even know if the word mighty is the word, but at least the funny have fallen.
Or, like, interesting, at the very least, like, have it be interesting. It's just not.
It's just, man, it's just this fucking, the most basic type of bargain bin, blockbuster, rental movie humor. You know what I'm saying? You know when you go to, like, a Blockbuster back in the day, and it would be like, hey, what's this black movie that, like, didn't get, like, a theater release and stars, like, Cat Williams before he was really that well known? You know, it's that type of caliber of humor, this type of fucking movie. So thank you for listening. Thank you, actually, for, you should probably thank us for, helping you not waste your time to see this movie by listening to this instead.
It was hard. It was a struggle, for real.
Thank you to For Harriet's, thank you to Kimberly for her guest spot, and you can check her out on her YouTube channel, For Harriet, which is pretty fucking awesome. Want to tell the people before we get up out of here, special shout out, special fuck yous,
My fuck you is to the entire U.S. prison industrial complex and every police union in this country. That is my special fuck you.
Exactly. And you know what? It's warranted and relevant because of this goddamn movie with this shitty ass portrayal. Or accurate portrayal of the FBI.
Right.
Like, are they doing shit like this? They're not gonna let us know.
We do not know. Yeah.
But until next time, these are the controversial thoughts and opinions coming to you. Again, thank you for listening to the podcast. If you want to check it out, you can check out all the other episodes that don't go live on patreon.com/Reviewanew podcast. So definitely check that out if you want to check it out. Again, special thank you to my guests for showing up, and a special apology from me for wasting your time with this piece of shit film. And until next time, I'm the rap critic for the Reviewanew podcast, saying, don't watch this goddamn movie.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
The more I see, the more I do. Don't tell me it's the father. That's right. He don't wanna know what's going on. 'Cause white girls won't go.